Hello and welcome to By the Mash Tun, podcast by a couple of nerds where we brew some beer, drink some beer, and have a nice little chat about beer. I'm Mike Harrison Wood.
I'm Carl Noble.
Cool. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's the weather's cooled down a little bit. I'm in a much happier situation. It means that my mash tun and grain temperature isn't just like ridiculously high. Because I think last time I brewed, I measured my grain temp before like getting the water in.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was like 26 degrees. Ooh. And it's like, that's pretty warm for the grain. It's normally about like 22, so I don't really need to adjust. But it did mean I had to drop my strike water temperature.
Oh, wow.
By quite a bit, so...
Yeah, you got to pay attention to all these little bits and pieces.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like if if your grain is like, I don't know, 4 degrees warmer than you're expecting it to be, and you've got, I don't know, 5-6 kilogram of grain, that's going to make a difference to your strike water temperature.
True that.
Yeah.
So what are you brewing today?
Well, I'm using up a load of like odds and ends, so I'm calling this one a multigrain.
Multigrain.
Kind of like Cheerios. You know, where they just go, we've just got loads of stuff lying about, let's bag it all in one box. That's what I'm doing.
And putting it into little O shapes.
I shan't be putting it into little O shapes. I'll probably just end up kegging this.
All right.
Okay. So I'm going to do about 20 litres. So we'll get like a corny keg and a couple of bottles out of it. But yeah, it's just trying to use up some of the odds and ends. So it's a bit of a mixed mash situation.
Yes. Also known as a pancake beer.
A pancake beer, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm also trying to use up some odds and ends on the hops as well. So it's all just a bit all over the place. You're going to really enjoy it though, because we've got a lot of grain to try, and I know how much you love trying grain.
I do like eating raw grain. Well, not raw. I mean, it's been malted, hasn't it?
Yeah. Most of it has been anyway.
Yes.
So yeah, it'll be quite interesting. So I can give you a quick rundown of the different malts that are in it, or we can go into the history of.
Well, I thought I'd better mention a little bit about pancake beers to begin with.
Yeah.
It is, obviously, there's a big tradition in the homebrewing world of doing weird and wonderful stuff, but you are often left with odds and ends. And so
exactly.
the term, I don't know where it originated first, but the term pancake beer came about in the homebrewing circles just to mean it's all your little bits left over.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it seems a shame to throw them away.
Yeah.
So, I think probably every homebrewer at some point either has or will end up doing a pancake beer, or they're just going to throw the little bits away, which sometimes those little bits are, like 200 grams, 100 grams. And it's like, it seems like a small amount, but, it seems a bit of a waste to just chuck them in the bin.
And they do often come out more as a sort of amber ale as well, because you've got some of the darker malts, just 100 grams, 200 grams, you say.
Yeah.
And you've also got base malt, so it tends towards that sort of averaged beer, and that sort of averaged beer does tend to be amber in colour.
Yes.
Sweeter, little bit biscuity, but not too much. A little bit sweet, but not too much. Little bit,
and just a bit all over the place, really, isn't it? Because like you want to try and craft, the best recipe you can, but if you're then just going to be leaving yourself with 10-15 grams, you may as well just bang it in. Like at that point, there is no point in chucking that in the bin. You're like, well, I'm a bit over on my numbers, sod it. Let's just get it in. Like,
it's all made up anyway.
Well, exactly. Like you're not striving for like an award-winning beer. You're not going to win any homebrew competitions with a pancake beer. I mean, you might, but you'll be true. Unless you record every single little bit, you're going to struggle to recreate that beer. I mean, I've tried to be pretty close, but as I was going through my bags today, I was definitely just like, there's a bit of that left over, let's chuck it in. So, I mean, not even everything's recorded.
Oh, wow.
Well, I think there's only one that isn't. I think it's only the Cara Gold that I didn't actually write down, and that's because it wasn't in Beersmith's
you couldn't be bothered to add it yourself.
I was just like, sod it, it's there, it's like 100 grams, it's going in.
All right, let me guess. Is there 5 grains?
Let me just count it up. More.
Is there 6 grains?
A little bit more.
Is there 7 grains?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's more than Cheerios.
Yeah.
It's more than Cheerios has 5.
All right,
I've got 7.
So do you want to do the rundown alphabetically or just?
No, well, I'll just do it from the top of my list and how I put them in, and that was basically just kind of how I got them out of the box.
All right, lay it on me.
So we've got Maris Otter.
Yes, I love Maris Otter.
I know you do.
Yeah,
I didn't have a lot of Maris Otter left, so that is, that makes up the bulk of it, but not every single little bit of it.
Hang on, I've got to find some here.
It's in the slightly larger bag.
Slightly
there
larger
you go.
bag. No, that's God.
There you go.
Hey.
There you go. Now we've tried Maris Otter several times, but I know how much you enjoy it. Come on, pass that bag over. Straight out the bag.
You know what you're getting.
Yeah.
It's a white bready sweetness. It's a little bit biscuity, but it's not aggressive biscuit. It's nice, soft, easy.
Yeah,
lovely.
That's good. Next up is... Oh, that's nice and sweet. Malted oats.
Okay.
Go on then, dig around for malted oats. I haven't put these all into shot glasses because I was like, well, I'm not going to remember what the shot glasses are, and I am labeling them up. So I just left them in the bags.
Yep. So...
Malted oats.
We've looked at malted oats before.
We have,
well,
yeah.
haven't we? For the New England IPA.
Yes, well, that's exactly why I've got a little bit left over.
And yeah, it's slightly different than flaked oats, but it's still porridgey, nice and sweet still.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously because it's got the husks in.
Yeah,
it just makes it a little bit more chewy. Okay, let's go for the Pilsner malt next.
Okay.
So yeah, because I didn't have much Maris Otter, I decided that a little bit of Pilsner would kind of just balance it out a little bit. I don't know what you're going to do with that husk, Mike.
I'm just going to try eating it again.
Just swallow it. It'll be fine. It'll get stuck in your throat. It'll be hilarious.
Husky.
So
here we go.
There you go. There's the Pilsner malt.
Right.
Now we've had Pilsner before because obviously in one of our very recent episodes you actually brewed a Pilsner, didn't you?
Yeah, 2 episodes ago I did a German Pils.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of that Pilsner malt.
How's that?
Yeah, it's nice. It's got that. I think I said at the time it's got a very similar flavour of Maris Otter, but it hasn't got that huge hit of sweetness, and it hasn't got that huge bready flavour. They're both there, but it's just a bit lower down.
Yeah, it's a slightly drier taste, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that brings, but I think it's just going to be masked by some of the big hitters which are coming in a minute.
And I think the old malt husks are breaking down a bit in my saliva and giving a really grassy flavour as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that will happen. I mean, that's not the sort of thing that's really going to come through in the beer.
No.
But I'm really looking forward to the oats giving it, just a bit of body, which I think should be quite interesting.
Right. Next.
So, next up, let's have a look at the caramel crystal malt. He's in there somewhere. No, that's it. There you go.
Crystal.
That's
there
the one.
We go. Right,
So I went for pale because I've got some of the darker stuff left over, but I went for pale because I didn't want to make it too dark.
Right. Crystal is used in a lot of beers.
Oh, yeah.
And we've never really focused on it yet.
No.
So, crystal is a very unusual style in that it's malted to the point where there's like a little crystal of sugar in there, I think. Is that the way it works? That sort of pops. It gives a very, very sweet malt base to the beer. As Cal was saying, you've got a very big spectrum of from very pale crystal to very dark crystal.
Yeah,
but it's the process of malting that makes it crystal rather than
So the colour's all down to the roast. So if you're wanting a slightly sweeter, darker beer, you're gonna use the darker crystal malt. If you're wanting, because I use crystal malt in IPAs, not a lot of it, but I like that slightly malty taste that you get to it. So it's not just all about the hops. You get a slight malt taste, but you want that pale colour, so you want to go for the palest crystal malt you can find.
Yeah, I am getting a big malt hit from that.
Yeah.
It's very big in the aftertaste. You have got residual sweetness there, but unlike with the Maris Otter, where there was nothing to hide that sweetness, there is a big malt hit there that complements it very well.
Yeah. It is really good.
Yeah. That's the most like eating malt loaf I've had so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You've got some fun things to come then.
Oh, nice.
So the next one up is the Munich malt. There he is.
This one here. Yeah, again, we've had this a couple times before.
Yeah.
It's lightly toasted bready sort of sweetness.
So it will have that nice, like, kind of malty sweet going on.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's a very nice grain. A very nice grain.
Much less challenging than the crystal, as it is.
No, that sweetness is so prominent though.
Lovely.
Almost tastes a bit like Ovaltine.
Yeah.
Oh, we should use Ovaltine to beer. I don't think we should.
Well, one day.
So what have you got in your hands there? You went straight for a bag.
This is biscuit malt. So this will be
biscuit.
This will be a big aggressive malt character here, won't they?
Like the clues in the name with biscuit malt. You know what you're going to get.
But don't expect that sort of big sweet biscuit. It's bite.
Yes. I do love biscuit malt.
Yeah, wow. God, that's like dusty, dry biscuits, that is. Oh, lovely. Real
dusty,
big bite
dry biscuits. I mean, a good thing we've got a cup of tea to go with the dusty, dry biscuit.
It is very nice tea. What tea is it again?
That's a carrot cake tea.
Perfect accompaniment.
I know, right? Nice bit of carrot cake to go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's really good. Like you said, there's no real sweetness there. It's a much... Sorry, I just got distracted there because Mike's looking through the bags that I've got out, and his eyes just lit up.
More in fear than excitement.
Nah, what are you on about?
Anyway.
So, what's happening here then? What you got in your hands?
Because this is quite quick fire, we're getting through them. Cara Gold.
Yeah.
What should I expect here?
So Cara Gold, again, you're going to get like some caramel, like a pretty big sort of malt taste, and a nice sweetness. Is that what you're getting?
I am getting all those things, but none of them as intense as the other malts that did that thing more.
Yes.
So
yeah.
It's not as sweet as the Marisotto. It's not as malty as the biscuit. It's not as... No, it's as caramelly as some of the others. So, yeah, that's nice.
It's like I find that one's like kind of really nice for like American pales, as opposed to using like a I don't know, kind of like a crystal caramel or something like that. If you want to get that maltiness to it, but you don't want to add a huge amount of sweetness or a huge amount of biscuitiness, that works really well because it gives you that sort of caramelly sort of taste.
And it is quite balanced in and of itself as well.
Yeah, it's a really nice malt. I haven't used it a lot, but when I have, it's always worked out really well.
I wonder if it would be too intense to do a 100% beer of that.
It'd be interesting. We could definitely give it a try at some point.
Yeah, one day.
Well, right,
but not this day.
This is the last one. This is the one that you said you were in fear of.
Yeah, Cara Aroma.
Cara Aroma. I love this malt.
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
Oh, it's crunchy. Oh, and there's there's that bitterness. That
So it's
really dark chocolate.
A very dark crystal malt. And you should be getting like very strong caramel flavor.
Yeah,
like very strong caramel. Like this is something that
lovely
as part of your grain bill you don't want to use a lot of because it is quite intense. But it's worth it. It's such a good malt. Like when I first used it in a stout, I think there was me and my friend Matt. We were brewing the caramel chocolate shortbread stout, and that we just wanted a real heavy sort of caramel taste. And that to balance with because we used cocoa nibs, like kind of post fermentation, and that just balanced out so perfectly with it. Really, really nice.
Because as you say, there is that strong caramel flavor, but there's also a really strong. Chocolate that's sort of 80% or more. That really
like kind of close to a raisin sort of flavor.
Yeah, you got raisiny. You got a little treacly sort of as well.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's a very, very intense malt.
Yeah,
a very intense malt, and should be used sparingly, but if used right, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So that's actually 8 malts.
8 malts.
Yeah, I've recorded 7, but I didn't put the Cara Gold in. Of course. So yeah, there's the 8 malts. We went through it quite quickly, but that's what pancake beers are. They're just going to be a whole world of different stuff.
Yeah.
So, like all of these grains went right in the beers that I brewed them for. So it'll be interesting to see how all of these flavors kind of come together. And I'm expecting, very malty. A little bit dark, maybe a little bit sort of, get that raisiny flavour. out of the Cara aroma, which would be really nice. And a nice sort of dark amber colour.
Yeah.
Which should be quite nice. But then I'm going to try and balance it out by making it really bitter.
Yeah, speaking of which, what's the hops?
Okay, so I'm going to use some bittering hops this time.
Yep.
So the last time I brewed, we didn't record it, but it was me redoing the New England, which, I didn't do any bittering hops whatsoever. So this time we're starting with about 25 grams of Columbus.
Okay.
So that is Columbus currently is 16% alphas. So it's pretty high. So you don't need a lot of it to get a massive amount of IBUs.
Yep.
Which is really nice. So I'm not expecting too much of the flavours or aromas to come through from this. It's purely just about the bittering. And it's largely just because I had a pack in my freezer that's been sat there for a long time. So I was like, so I imagine those alpha acids have dropped off a fair bit.
Yeah.
Because I think it was a free pack that was just banged in with one of my orders because they had some left over.
Yikes.
So,
do you know how long ago?
I know the date that was written on it. So I know which crop harvest it's from.
Yeah? 2012?
What?
What? That's too far.
It's not too far. It's fine. It's been it was when I got it. It was obviously kind of nitrogen sealed, and then it's been in my freezer ever since. Like the alpha acids will have dropped off, but I'm using it as a bittering hop. I'm not expecting too much aroma or flavour from it.
So it's possible the bittering could be a bit lower than that.
Yeah, but that's all right though.
Time. Yeah, you've aimed high, and if it goes
exactly.
lower, that's
if
fine.
it's a bit lower, that's fine. But as standard, with Columbus, it works really well in just a whole range of different things for bittering. Just because the alpha acids are so high, and it means you don't need to use a lot of it either. Because we talked about this before, so I normally use something like Magnum or something like, which is about 12 to 15% alpha, because that way it's just a bit cheaper. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice if some of the aromas and flavors could come through, because it should be quite spicy, quite aromatic. But I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
So after that, I've got a bit of Eldorado.
Oh, that's a very nice one.
So that is going to be 5 minutes left on the boil.
Yeah.
I'm going to bang some Eldorado in, so it'll just knock out some of the aroma from that, but keep the vast majority of it. And then after that, we've got 2 lots of steep hops going in. We've got what was left over from a bag of Galaxy. So
wow.
And
Eldorado and Galaxy.
Yeah, and some Nelson Sauvin going in as well.
Oh, yeah. This is quite a treat of a pancake
beer.
Oh,
it just...
It's normally the
Fuggles,
little bits of everything.
I mean, the thing is, I've got some Fuggles left, but I was like, no, I'm not putting Fuggles in it. No, I've got anything really against Fuggles. It's just I didn't want to use it. I've got a stout recipe coming up soon, which I'll probably end up using the Fuggles in anyway, because Fuggles works quite well in an English stout.
Cool. And there's no point bittering with it because
it's the alpha's so low. So it'll go in that in the stout that we end up doing, and a bunch of other hops just to try and balance out the Fuggle flavour.
Yeah. Yeast.
USO 5.
Yeah.
So very standard. There's no point in going big on the yeast if you're making a pancake beer, because nothing really is going to shine through. There's too much going on for any one characteristic to really be center stage. And the last thing I want to do is go, right, let's use a really nice yeast in something like this. So I mean, not that USO 5 isn't a really nice yeast, but it's very clean, very crisp. It doesn't add kind of its own flavor profile too much to it. So there's going to be so much going on. I didn't want a big yeast profile going in as well.
No.
So
makes sense.
Exactly. So it's going to be an interesting beer. It's pretty run of the mill, going for medium body. So mashing at about 65, 66.
Yeah.
That should be pretty good. I'm going for a standard 1 hour mash, 1 hour boil. And I imagine fermentation will zip along quite quickly. There's no dry hops going in. Keep it simple. Exactly. Like there's no point in making something like this overly complicated, because there's so much going on already.
Are you doing any water treatment as well?
No water treatment.
No,
Nope.
at all.
No. Exactly. At the moment, there's really no point because this type of beer will fit the water profile, as well as me tinkering with the water at any point because.
Because you're looking for the malt and some hops and just a bit of everything.
Yeah, exactly. So I think water treatment would be unrecognisable in a beer like this anyway, or at least unrecognisable to me. I wouldn't be able to go, if only I'd put a bit of gypsum in that.
Yeah.
To balance, whatever out. But that's not going to happen. So.
Yeah. Well, with those malts, those delicious malts, and Eldorado and Galaxy in there, among others.
Oh, yeah.
This should be a very tasty little pancake beer.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially serving it in keg as well.
Yeah.
So, we'll be able to try some in bottle, and some off keg. It'd be nice to see what it would be like from cask, but I'm just not making enough of it.
Yeah, a sort of amber ale that is hoppy.
Yeah,
seems like some of that malt bite in an amber and hops would suit cask very well.
Yes.
But I think you're right as well. With that balance, keg may be a good way to go as well.
Yeah, no, I think keg's going to be the best way to serve it. I reckon.
Well, most convenient as well.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and talking about hops, I think there's a small amount of beer news, is there?
Oh, beer ye! It's time for a tiny little bit of beer news.
It's tiny, is it?
It's tiny. There's not much news this week that I've seen, except for. The very startings of the 2018 hop harvest have started.
Well, there you go.
It's the last week of August, and it's begun. So the early crops will be out in the shops soon, maybe in a couple of weeks' time.
I imagine that the it's going to be your brewers, which are going to get, your commercial brewers are going to get the first pick of it. As home brewers, you may not see 2018 until. The back end of this year, I'd have thought. Yeah.
It may also mean that in the next month, maybe 6 weeks, you'll start seeing a lot of the green hop or fresh hop or wet hop or however you call it.
Yeah.
That's basically just brewing with hops that haven't been dried.
Yes.
It's just, they're off the vine, they're in a pile, you grab the pile, you put it in.
Yeah, you tend to need a lot more to get, the sort of flavours that you're looking for.
I think I was told once that a sensible ratio is 6-1. So bearing in mind these hops haven't been dried, so a lot of the weight is water weight.
Yeah.
But for sort of if you're used to using 100 grams of something, use 600 grams of wet hops.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean,
it seems wasteful, but
it does. I've had a few different green hop beers, and I mean they're nice, but I've never found one that makes me go, oh yeah, worth it.
Yeah.
I've just been like, yes, it's nice enough.
And what I've not been able to do is a direct comparison between two beers, one of which has been
green hopped and one. I think that could be something worth doing if we're going to try and find some green hop beers and try and find something which is pretty much a similar sort of makeup.
Yeah,
and actually just see how well it does, see if we can find a green hop version of something we've done.
True.
It's not a bad idea. Yeah, no, there you go. Look at that. Perked his ears up.
Well, yeah, speaking of green hops, I am actually growing hops in my garden.
How's that going?
And this year has been a disaster.
Oh, really? Just too hot?
Yeah. Because all of mine are in pots as well. And
you got to keep watered.
I've been
hops
watering
take a
them
lot of water.
as much as I can. And it's just, some of them have grown very tall and there's nice, big, juicy cones on them. Which I think they're all mid to late season, so they won't be ready for another couple of weeks at least.
Yeah.
I checked one this morning, and there were seeds in it as well.
Oh,
and that's not good. I've checked others, and I haven't found seeds yet, but that's the first one, which suggests to me that there is. This is a really bad thing for growing hops. Is if there's a male hop plant anywhere nearby, and once hops start getting fertilized, they lose a huge amount of flavor and they gain a lot of weight.
Yeah.
For just what is just basically dead weight.
Yeah. Shame.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. If there are more seeds to be found, then that's really bad. And that means I've got a male hop plant nearby, then there's nothing I can do about it.
Going to go hunting for it?
Yeah, maybe. With a rifle.
Oh, God. This has got very intense.
Yes.
I think we should probably try some beer now.
Oh, yeah. Let's have a beer.
All right. Right then, what we got here then, Mike?
Right, we are going a bit more on a traditional English style direction at the moment.
I suppose that works quite well with what we're planning of a bit of like, just kind of a malty amber beer.
Yeah.
With a bittery hotness.
And it does have a bit of a complex history in UK beer.
Yeah.
The sort of amber style. We've gone for one that is called Pure Ubu by Purity Brewing.
Oh, interesting.
That they've called a premium amber ale.
Yep.
At 4.5%.
What makes it premium?
Well, that
is it the price?
Comes. No.
Well, there you go.
No, I think that comes down to a bit of history with where the English amber ale style comes from, which is quite old, back from when most beers were just called bitters, which a lot of your English older gentlemen and ladies might know, that where there were several sections of bitters, where you had session or ordinary bitter down at the lower end. Apparently there was one even further down called boys bitter that was like 3%.
Right.
So you had boys bitter, ordinary bitter, or session bitter. Then you had your best bitters at about 4.2 upwards. Yeah. And then you had your premium bitters. Now, at some point, obviously things have been mixed around with the American style of brewing, where you've got American amber ale as a style that's distinctive in its own right and not a subset of something else. And that has sort of mixed with our bitters sort of definition, and amber ale is sort of just become an offshoot of session bitters.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And so a premium amber ale, I guess, is their sort of way of saying a best bitter without saying best bitter, but it's not really a best bitter, it's just a strong amber.
It is. I mean, what's striking about this to begin with is the clarity.
Yeah.
So with these types of beers, because it's the market that they're aiming at, don't necessarily go in with the cloudy beer bit.
No.
So these beers always tend to be, very clear. I have zero issue with clear beer. I've got zero issue with cloudy beer. I like a bottle conditioned beer, just because. I quite like having that bit of sediment in the bottom of the bottle. I don't want to eat it, but I just quite like to know that it's just a traditional method of carbonating, and I quite like it. And that's something that you don't always get with these beers. You miss out some of that character. But I mean, I suppose my enjoyment of that is as superficial as somebody's enjoyment of an entirely clear beer.
Maybe. I mean, there are differences with things like shelf life. Yeah. When yeast is in the bottle and it's a dark brown glass, the shelf life is huge compared to if it was bright and no yeast at all in there. And there are some arguments to be made about whether or not that preserves flavour as well, and whether or not it's sort of sterile.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, what is interesting to see and good to see is that this is definitely a brown bottle.
Yes.
And I find with a lot of beers like this, they tend to come in clear bottles. And I'm not I don't like using clear bottles. And I know there's very little cost difference between clear bottles and brown bottles.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, I've sourced bottles before, and it's just been like, okay, so there's very little price difference, and the only reason I can see that commercial breweries would use clear bottles is so that people can see what color the beer is. Yeah,
I can see that. So for your super pale lagers,
and that's it. It's an aesthetic thing. So you can look at a beer and go, okay, well that's the color of it. I'll have that then. But that also, I think, as we've discussed before, has an impact on the shelf life of the beer, especially hoppy beers.
Yeah, because UV is one of the terrible things for hops. It really does break down a lot of the sort of fruitier compounds.
It does,
and flavour bits and pieces.
But let's get into this beer.
Yes. So Purity Beer's Pure Ubu.
Yeah. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It looks really good, and it smells amazing.
Oh yeah. You're getting a big malt hit there.
Like it's exactly what you'd expect from an amber beer. Like it's a crisp, clean, but like warming malt, and it's really nice. It's almost a little bit fruity.
Yeah, I am getting a fruity nose. Just that hint that is sort of complementing the malt, and I presume that's more from the yeast profile rather than the hops. But it might be a bit of both. It might be them working in tandem to complement each other.
It's nice.
It's nice.
Yeah, that's the thing with these beers is they are very seldom blow away amazing. But they're, if done well, they're always just nice.
They're solid.
You can just go, yeah, I'll happily drink like a good few pints of that.
Yeah, I've had a sip now, and that is, I would be more than happy drinking that.
Yeah, like I say, they never blow away amazing. They never like really outstanding things by comparison to some of the beers that are out at the moment, where it's just like really weird and wonderful stuff. But there's just something quite comforting about this. Like you know what you're gonna get. Like if you walked into a pub and you ordered this, you'd be like, "Yep, I know exactly what I'm gonna get for autumn evening, sat by a fire." Like,
lovely,
absolutely perfect. Like really good.
Yeah, I definitely will drink this. This is but then
it's malty and it's bitter.
I'm very fortunate in that I do enjoy the malt flavour, and I know a lot of people that enjoy beer don't like a heavy malt flavour. They just it doesn't appeal to them. They like it delicate and nuanced rather than rich.
Yeah,
and full and biscuity.
I quite like that. It's got a nice sort of caramelly biscuity sort of taste. It's got a real warming feeling. Yeah, and it's not heavy either. No. So you're getting the not same characteristics to a stout, but you're getting that sort of malt hit that you would, and you're getting that bitterness that you get from a dry stout, but it doesn't have the weight, doesn't have the gravitas of a stout.
No. It's sweet. You got malt, and it's not biting.
No,
there's some best bitters. Some of my favorite best bitters are quite aggressively biting, which is nice for a couple of pints, but then you do have to move on.
Yes.
Whereas this has got that sort of amber sweetness to it.
Yeah.
You've got the malt flavour, but it's really just tempered down. And
and it's got a very subtle lingering bitterness as well.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
Yeah, for something that's as easygoing as that, it does actually benefit from being sipped as well.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good beer from Purity there. Really good. Let's try a different beer, shall we?
Okay. Okay, Cal, what have we got now?
So this is Gem by Bath Ales. Amber ale, alcohol, 4.8%.
4.8.
4.8, so slightly stronger than the last one.
Yeah.
But, I've had Bath Ales before. Very available in the round of Bath and Bristol area.
Yeah.
They're like Dennis. How do you feel about the smell of it then?
So, well, before that, there was a lot more carbonation.
There was a lot more carbonation.
I don't know if that had anything to do with me transporting them here. They both came at the same time, both chilled the same amount of time.
Yeah. It's interesting nose. I don't know whether or not it's just the excess in carbonation.
But I am getting a lot more of the sort of yeasty
yes,
esters,
definitely.
Sort of, a lot more of that traditional English yeast flavour than the Ubu had, which was a bit cleaner. Like it was there, but it was a lot lower down. Whereas with the Bath Ales Gem, it's almost dominating the malt. Like the aroma is just so strongly of that English yeast.
Yeah. How about the taste? Are you getting a lot of yeasty taste?
I'm going to go in.
Go on then. Get it in your face.
No, that's a lot softer.
Yeah.
Than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be a bit more aggressively sort of English ale. You have got certain dryness there. Not much malt, despite how it looks. What I was expecting from the description, the malt bite is actually really low.
Yeah.
Although that might just be because we've just had one that does have a bit more bite to it.
Yeah, a lot of malt bite. It's quite nice. It's got a residual sweetness to it, which is quite interesting. Like the flavour, it comes in pretty quick, but then drops off really quick, but leaves behind a really nice sort of sweetness to it.
Yeah, definitely direct caramel sweet as well.
Yeah, that's really nice. Again, it's another one where, if I was sat around a campfire, I'd quite happily just sit and, drink pint after pint of this quite happily.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like these types of beers, they are just that way. Like you just they're just solid, quaffable beers, which is why I think they've lasted so long and like they're so, I don't know, all the time. Like there's always, loads of different versions of this type of beer by loads of different breweries, and they always do really well. And I think it's just because if you're not into like your big obscure flavors, but you do like beer, this is what you're going to go for. Yeah.
And it's perfect for your English autumn, your English spring, that type of. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's basically like being inside a room but outdoors.
Yeah,
that's what I expect from sort of English weather. And that's the perfect time to drink a beer like this, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it's worked out all right. Well, yeah, I mean, we can move on to the next one. The next one's a bit interesting.
Okay.
Because we don't have another one of these because we didn't want to pick up just another sort of like amber ale and it'd just be very samey. So as I was getting my equipment out, I came across a bottle that I did. I don't know how many years ago, but it was a little while, and I think it's a plum porter.
Oh.
But we're going to open it up and have a look.
Yay. Curveball.
Yeah, exactly. But before that, I'm going to bang an advert on.
All right, okay.
And, people can listen to the advert while we investigate what this beer is about, because it might go completely wrong. We'll be back in a minute anyway.
In a world that appears to make no linear sense, there is a time-travelling rabbit with an important agenda. What is it? No one knows. But it has something to do with basketball. Welcome to a reality where a famous pig actor turned despotic leader rules with an iron fist, and a psychopathic duck may be our only hope for salvation. Welcome to the Tooniverse.
The Space Jam Continuum is a show where two brave souls attempt to create a cohesive cinematic universe out of something that was never meant to be one. Looney Tunes, from 1937 all the way to Space Jam. Why? Because in an era where all people want is a cinematic universe and reboots of all cartoons, we're the only ones with a resolve to combine the two.
So join us every Wednesday as we explore the depths of the Tooniverse, slowly clawing our way ever closer to the 1996 classic.
That's the Space Jam Continuum, every Wednesday at kaiju.fm or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Oh, and we advise you start at the beginning.
It's a good idea. Right then.
Oh dear God.
This looks terrible.
It does.
I mean, I don't know how long have I lived in this flat? 2 years. So I probably brewed this, I'm going to say 3 and a bit years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? And there was a reason there's still bottles of this kicking about. I never liked it in the first place. So this was, I don't know, maybe the 3rd beer I ever brewed.
You give me such nice treats.
So this is a plum porter, or at least it was. I don't know what it is now. And I didn't really understand how to use fruit in beers. So I just chopped up a load of plums and banged them in post-fermentation.
Right. Post-fermentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they weren't the nicest of plums. Not gonna lie to you. They
right.
were a bit on the sour side. So yeah, like I say, I never liked this beer beforehand. We had tried some a little while back, and it seems to have mellowed, or it had mellowed anyway. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, it is chunky.
Yeah, oh god, it is
chunky.
But I think just have a quick little look. If I remember correctly, vast majority of that is plum bits.
Plum bits, yeah.
Plum bits. So
and it was so overcarbed.
It was massively overcarbed. Yeah. I mean, it probably didn't help putting a load of fruit in after fermentation and then bottling it.
No,
that probably wasn't the best idea. But
no explosions.
No, I've never had a bottle explode yet, which is surprising. But I learned a lot from this. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. All right, let's learn by drinking.
Okay, so how's it smell?
Actually, porter-esque.
Well, I mean, being a plum porter and all, it probably should be.
Well, I was expecting like a big sort of sour funk, and
right,
because one of the stupid things with putting fruit in post fermentation is unless you sanitize that fruit, all the nasties and wild stuff on that fruit is going to then go into the beer and ferment nasty things, or not necessarily nasty, potentially nasty, funky, let's say. Stuff in that beer, which produces CO2, which overcarbs.
If it helps, I did boil them quickly before I chopped up and put them in.
Oh, so it's not all bad.
No.
It's not like you just cut up some plums and
plopped them in.
Yeah, don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. I've just had a try of it. I still don't really like it.
Okay.
It's not bad. I just don't like it. That's the thing. It tastes a bit washing up liquidy. No, I think I've killed Mike. Still alive there, Mike?
There is a lot less going on than I imagined that there would be.
Which is surprising considering there's so much of it.
There's such a visible aspect to it.
I think it's kind of like it's got the same enjoyment as a lava lamp. You'd like to look at it, but you don't want to drink it.
Mm.
How do you feel?
There's a light sharpness there. But it doesn't feel like a vinegariness or even like a wild fermentation thing.
No.
It's the sharpness from the plum, yeah. The plum's not particularly juicy, fruity.
No, I mean, maybe. I reckon if I'd, filtered that a bit better,
yeah,
it would probably be better, I think.
Yeah, I could see that.
But
there's still not a huge malt character. There's not, it's there, but it's not huge. The sweetness is there, but it's not huge. It's
the plumminess is there, but it's not huge. It's more of a sourness. So it's a good thing I carried on brewing, and I wasn't put off by early failures.
It's a fine beer. It's not like
Thanks.
Good.
Thanks.
It's just fine. It's nice.
It's the lumps that are off-putting.
Yeah. Yeah, almost 100%.
100% off-putting.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, thanks for being here to try this 3.5-year-old beer.
That's all right. I'll post a video of what it looks like on the social media.
If you must.
Yeah, so people can see what a chunky mess this is.
Yeah, so I mean, like, what this should tell people is you can't win every one of them. And don't be put off by early failures because they're going to happen. Like my brewing has come on so far in comparison to what this I'm pointing at the beer, by the way, what this mess is. And yeah, it's just about trying, keep going, and when you make a lumpy creature that's going to live in a bottle for a little while, don't be put off.
Yeah, I mean, compare that to my third ever brew, where I went for a West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
Messed it up completely, and it turned into a textbook example of an ESB.
Well, there you go.
So, completely accidentally, it was delicious, but completely not what I wanted.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is now, we've both been brewing for a while now, and we've got each other to learn off.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
And you guys as well.
Yeah. So, get in contact with us. We have various forms of social media. Let us know what you think of this lava lamp of a beer. And, I imagine we just got one beer left to try.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
That's the wort.
Oh, the pancake wort.
Yeah. Now, I've had a little try of it, and it tastes real sweet.
Real sweet.
Real sweet. Anyway.
Can't wait.
I think we'll best be going now.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.